Hi, this is Wishop, and this is your reading for the new moon. It's a new moon in Capricorn on January 9th. So the first thing I want to say is a little something about the universal year of 9, which is the Hermit. So I'm going to show you the Hermit card. Some people look at this card and think, oh, it looks lonely and deprived and hard. The Hermit is an enlightened sage. So from the outside, people looking may say, oh, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that. Look at him, he doesn't have a home, he doesn't have whatever. The Hermit, in the persona of the enlightened sage, who we see throughout history and throughout lots of different traditions and mythologies, is the self-sufficient character of great wisdom who walks through guided divinely. And in this little lantern you can see there's this six-pointed star. It's a synthesis of all of the elements above and below, and he's guided on his way by the enlightenment that he carries within. So while you may feel a little road worn because the last few years have been tough, definitely for a lot of people, you have gained this wisdom that now allows you to walk forth like the laughing Buddha, in happiness and joy, not carrying a single thing you don't need, always in the right place, and spreading joy and transformation wherever you go, no matter how humble your activities seem. And I'm going to get more into that, but this new moon is in Capricorn, so that is emphasizing goals, right? Capricorn, the goat on the top of the mountain, and we think about goals, and the sun is in Capricorn. But in my New Year's reading, I talked about how it might not be a great time to set hard and fast goals because a lot of things are happening, a lot of things are going on. And I think that's going to continue through the end of the month because Mercury is going to go retrograde starting January 5th. So it's going to be retrograde in Aquarius just for a little while, and then it's going to go retrograde in Capricorn because it's going to go all the way back to Capricorn. It's going to be retrograde there from the 8th to the 25th. Mercury retrograde gives us a chance to re-examine our goals in Capricorn, to really think about what goals are we setting, what mountains do we want to climb. And I think because Jupiter is also getting ready to go retrograde in Virgo, instead of that expansive Jupiterian energy, it's going sort of inward. And Virgo has a lot to do with practicalities of home and health and those things. So Jupiter is saying, look within. And I think what it's saying is there should be an emphasis on the small things, on the way that each of us living small, graceful, joyful lives are, whether or not we're celebrated for being at the top of the mountain, whether or not we get a spread in People magazine, whether or not anyone knows our name, or we're like this anonymous sage, we are changing the world, transforming it, and making it a more beautiful place by living wonderful lives wherever we are. So whatever you can reach with your hands and your feet, whatever you can see around you, whatever noises you can hear, within that sphere of your life, what are you doing to make your life a more beautiful place for you and a more joyful place? Because I think as we examine our path up the hill, we're sort of being asked, look, I know that mountaintop might look very inviting, but when you look at the path that you're going to have to go through to get there, does it look joyful or does it look awful? Because we're being asked not to look at the highest high goal. Yes, we are supposed to be idealistic. Venus in Sagittarius and Saturn in Sagittarius are still focusing on be idealistic, have those principles deep in your heart that inspire you. But when you're looking at the individual steps you need to take, make sure those steps look like things that would be fun to do. If it doesn't look like fun, it might not be a good idea. We've spent the last few years just pushing boulders uphill, and now it's time to look at downhill. It's really time to look at downhill. So let's see what the Lenormand has to say about this new moon, January 9th, which is going to go through to January 24th, I believe, when there's a full moon in Leo. And when you think about that Leo energy of just joy, right? A lion just roaring with happiness. Then we think about where we want to be by the end of the month. The new moon in Capricorn, we're going to examine our goals and make sure that the road to that summit looks like it's one that would be fun to take. And then by the end of the month, as Mercury retrograde leaves its shadow period and we get that gorgeous full moon in Leo, we should be roaring with delight and joy at what we have set ahead of ourselves to take on. So we've got the anchor, we've got the whip, and we've got the stars. Now, I will say that one extra meaning I have for the anchor is that it's a kind of angelic energy that spans from heaven down to the deeps. It's all kinds of spiritual assistance that offer safety and good prospects, but it goes from very high to very low and every place that you're at and every place in between. And the whip, of course, can talk about things which are painful and repeated instances. The stars, we have the idea of divine guidance. So I think what I'm hearing here is what is safe. And also because the anchor can be a card of business and commerce and jobs. So it can be what looks safe, what looks like a good prospect, maybe hurting you, may be really painful to do again and again and again and again. So it looks outwardly like a good prospect, so reliable, so sensible, and yet it's painful to you to consider having to do it again and again and again. And that is saying, look to the stars for guidance. The star card can also indicate the internet. So maybe you want to do some internet research on some other ideas. You want to open up your horizons. But the stars are a hopeful card, and they're a card that allows you to look at something further away. So branch out a little bit. As you're looking at your goals, open your mind a little bit and let that guidance come in. Because whatever looks so safe and so like such a good bet, like such a solid bet, if it also looks like it could just be a pain over and over and over again, I think you're being asked to consider, are there other, no matter how remote, no matter how strange, but are there other opportunities that could be more joyful? Because I'm really just seeing this joy as a necessary thing. So to support that idea, I pulled a tarot card from the Whimsical Tarot because I think it offers such fun. So let's see what we have. Four of Cups. Interesting. Okay. If you can see this card, you can see this card has to do with the Emperor's new clothes. And in this case, the Emperor or the King is not wearing any. So the Four of Cups can also be called the luxury card. You have 4 cups, which is a lot. You have an abundance, and yet it is unsatisfying. It's almost so much that you don't appreciate it anymore and you don't know what to do with it. And in this card, where we have the Emperor's new clothes, you can see that the Emperor has been brought to such a point of vanity that he can be easily deceived because he's constantly thinking about public opinion. And the more he thinks about public opinion, the more raised up to ridicule he ends up becoming. So emotionally, as a Cups card, this card has a lot to say about, are you making your decisions based on what you think other people are going to think of you? It can be really hard not to go with the safe bet, not to go with the traditional one. it can be very hard to follow your star, right? And it can really make you feel vulnerable and naked as you do it. But would you, in fact, be more likely to be unhappy if instead you went through with something that wasn't really true? Because the Four of Cups is about illusion. You are deceived because you stop following your own good sense. It's a little child who points out, oh, he's naked. And then everybody notices, because until then they were all following the herd going, oh no, look, isn't it beautiful? Oh, it must be the latest style. And it takes the good sense of a child cutting through the deceptions of the kinds of things that we tell ourselves to get to the heart of the matter, or to the back end of the matter in this case. So where I'm talking about joy, I am talking about that childlike glee. I am talking about the wisdom of sages who walk through with laughing eyes and who say the simplest things that transform lives. I think that within your concentration on your own joy in a way that is simple, don't worry about being cool, the next best thing, the next greatest thing, always starts out as a crazy idea to somebody. Consensus is not the place where new developments and innovations are made. Consensus is what we all already know. So the great new idea, the wonderful new vision, your terrific new life is going to start out sounding nuts to someone. That's not your problem. Your problem is figuring out if it's actually going to bring you authentic joy. So let me go on here, and I pulled a brownies card because I think the brownies are also very funny and they have that childlike energy. They're also mischievous. I have no idea what we're going to see from them, but what does the brownies oracle say? Plenty. Oh, look at this. Okay, so look at them and look at this huge pile of sugar. There is plenty. So I think this may emphasize that while you are considering what to do, you're not going the safe route perhaps. Maybe you're considering that the mountain you want to climb is something a great deal odder than you thought, or than the people around you might approve of. There will be plenty. And there will be plenty of sweetness. Make sure that you're going for the sweetness. You will have plenty. You'll have what you need, but you're not going to get it by following consensus opinion. You're going to get it by carving out your own way, which frequently seems nuts to other people. It's not always the case, but it is often the case. So I want to say, please follow your joy. Please think about how the small things in your everyday life can be made better, and how those little things, when you are happier, are transformative and save the world in ways that you could never even imagine, by just making all the energy here a better place to be. So I know that's all kind of wide-ranging, metaphysical, blah, blah, but I really think it's true. So I hope that you have a great full moon, or new moon rather, and then we'll have a great full moon. But until then, rock on with your joyful, gleeful selves.